Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt invisible? Everyone else seems to know each other. They're laughing, talking, making plans, and you're just standing there trying to figure out where to look. Then you think about saying something, but nobody looks your way, so you grab your phone and pretend you're busy. Sound familiar? Here is the weird part. It might be not your personality, it might be the signals you're sending without realizing it. Because people who seem naturally magnetic, they're not always the funniest or the most attractive or the loudest. They just know how to make people feel comfortable around them, and there are 5 simple things they do. The fifth one is the biggest, but I have saved that to the end of this video, and you might be exactly doing the opposite of that right now. But before then, let's start with something that happens before you say even a single word, which is technique 1. The first 3 seconds. Think about the last time you entered a classroom or a meeting or a party where you knew almost nobody. What did you do? Maybe you looked down, checked your phone, found an empty chair, and disappeared into it. I used to do the same thing. Then I noticed something. People were making eye contact with everyone except me. At first, I thought maybe they don't like me, but that wasn't it. I was telling them not to approach me without saying a word. Here's what usually happens. You walked into a room, head down, phone in your hand, eyes moving everywhere except toward people. To you, it feels normal. To everyone else, it can look like, I'm busy, leave me alone, I'm not here to talk. Now watch what happens when you change just one thing. Walk in, head level, slow down, look around, but just don't stare. Just notice people and then make a brief eye contact with someone and then give them a tiny smile. That's it. You have just changed the signal from I'm not available to I'm open. Well, I personally tried this at gym. Usually I'd walk in my headphone on, eyes down, straight to my workout, but this time I looked around. I made an eye contact with the guy at the front desk and a little smile. Later, while I was using a machine, he asked, "You're using this one?" But it sounds tiny, and it was actually, but that's the point. I hadn't suddenly become more confident, but I simply stopped looking unavailable. And that first impression matters, because before someone decides to talk to you, they first decide whether you are safer to approach. But there is another problem. You can get the first 3 seconds right, but then your body language can ruin everything. Yes, body language matters the most. Picture this. You're at a party and you don't know many people. So you find a spot near the wall, cross your arms, put one hand in your pocket and start watching everyone else. Then a guy across the room looks at you, but you look away. Then a girl walks past and you just start checking your phone. And in this way, 5 minutes go by and nobody talks to you. Then you think, see, nobody is interested in talking to me. But that's the problem. They might be interested, you're just making yourself difficult to approach. I personally realized this at one night at friend's party. I was standing near the kitchen, arms crossed, shoulders down, phone in my hand, and then one of my friends came over and said, "Hey, why do you look so serious?" I laughed because I wasn't serious at all. I was just standing there. But apparently, my body was telling a completely different story. So I changed 3 things. I put my phone away, uncrossed my arms, and stood up straight. Not like a soldier, just a relaxed one. And a few minutes later, the same friend walked over and said, "Hey, how do you know everyone here?" That's it. Same person, same room, and same me. The only thing that changed was the signal. Because your body talks before you ever open your mouth. Crossed arm says, "Stay back." A phone in front of your face says, "I'm busy." And hiding in the corner means, "Don't bother me." But open arms, relaxed shoulder, and a calm face, they say, "You can come talk to me." You don't need a perfect posture. You don't even have to look confident like a Harvard graduate. You just need to stop looking like you're trying to escape. And once you finally look approachable, there is one more thing that can actually make people want to keep talking to you. And that's the magnetic thing called be curious. Here is what most people do when someone starts talking to them. They start thinking about themselves. What should I say? Do I sound interesting? What story should I tell? And while they are thinking, they are barely listening. Magnetic people do something simpler. They get curious. Imagine you're sitting next to someone on a flight. You could ask, "Where are you from?" They answer, and the conversation is over. Or you could ask, "What the best place you have visited?" Now they have something to say. Maybe they tell you about Japan, so you can ask, "What made that trip so good?" Now they're talking, and you're not performing at all. You're just following the thread. I personally tried this at a friend's birthday party. I met someone who mentioned he had recently quit his job, so instead of telling him about my own work, I asked, "What made you finally leave?" He paused, then started explaining. 10 minutes later, we were still talking. Here is the interesting part. I barely talked about myself. But when we said goodbye, he remembered me. Why? Because I was interested in him. People don't always remember your best joke, they remembered the person who made them feel interesting. So from now on, stop trying to find the perfect thing to say. Ask one better question, then listen to the answer. Ask one more, and that's enough. Because there is something else that makes people feel comfortable around you, and it's surprisingly simple. Did you guess it? It's called silence. Imagine you're talking to someone at a party. The conversation is going great. You're laughing because they are telling you a story. Then suddenly, there is a silence. Just 3 seconds passed, and your brain screams, "Please say something." So you do. Another question, another joke, or just anything that comes to your mind. And somehow, the conversation gets awkward. I personally used to do this all the time until one night I decided not to do it again. I was sitting beside someone I just met. We talked for a few minutes, then nothing. I almost tried to jump in, but I didn't. I smiled and took a sip of my drink and waited for a few seconds. Then he looked at me and said, "I almost didn't come tonight." And suddenly the conversation became interesting again. He started telling me why, and I started to listen him. That's when I realized silence wasn't the actual problem. My desire to kill the silence was actually one. Sometimes you don't need another question, you just need to give the other person a moment to speak. So next time there is a silence, just don't need to panic. Don't reach for your phone and don't you dare to force a joke. Just stay. Because sometimes the most confident thing you can say is nothing. And now comes the final technique. Stop needing people to like you. Picture this. You walk into a party and you look around, but nobody talks to you, so you start thinking, "I think they don't like me." Then you see someone laughing across the room, and suddenly you want to impress them. You change how you stand, think about what to say, and try harder to get noticed. And somehow you become even more uncomfortable. I realized I had been doing this for years. I wasn't trying to connect with people, I was trying to get their approval. So one night I tried something completely different. I walked in thinking, "I don't want anyone to like me. I'm just here to enjoy myself." So I got a drink and sat down and started talking to someone because I actually wanted to. And for once, I wasn't checking their reaction every 2 seconds. Neither I was trying to perform or chase something. I was just relaxed. And that's when it clicked. The moment you stop needing attention, you become easier to approach. Because people can feel the difference between "please like me" and "I'm good either way." So you don't need to impress everyone. You don't even need everyone to like you. Just walk in knowing, "I belong here." And strangely, that's when people start noticing you. So let's put all this together and remember these 5 things. Look up, make eye contact, and give a small smile. Then open your body, relax your shoulder, and stop hiding behind your phone. Third, be curious. Ask, listen, and follow up. Don't fear silence, let the conversation breathe. And finally, stop chasing approval. You don't need everyone to like you. Walk in thinking, "I belong here," because that's the real secret. You don't become magnetic by demanding attention, you become magnetic when you stop needing it. So, next time you walk into a room, just look up, breathe, and smile. Let people discover you.